Modification. Now, when we are working in an organization or in an environment which has people from different backgrounds, different abilities, we need to consider this particular factor, modification, in particular, environmental modifications. When we talk about environmental modifications, these are internal and external physical adaptations to the home or the work environment, which are necessary to ensure the health, welfare, and safety of the participants, for example, our staff or our customers. These modifications enable the participant to function with greater independence and prevents institutionalization. Institutionalization, why should we try to avoid it? Well, pretty simple. We don't want people to be reliant on us or reliant on the institute or reliant on everybody else. We want people to be independent so that they can gain power of their own lives. They can make their own decisions. They can be free to move, free to be all they can be, basically. So alterations may need to be made, for example, for people with wheelchairs. Let's build ramps so it's easier for them to move around. And we see examples of ramps everywhere, right? If you are walking down the street, you see a sidewalk. The sidewalk has a ramp where the traffic lights are. So that someone in a wheelchair or someone who's pushing a pram or a trolley can easily navigate. We can build handrails, right? And we see handrails most often in stores, elevators. Well, where you've got elevators, you've got staircases. Staircases tend to have handrails. And this is great for anyone who's got mobility issues. Once again, elevators where appropriate are fantastic for mobility issues. It allows places to become more accessible, like buildings. Escalators are good. Travelators, which are those, they're like escalators, but like flat, and they allow you to move. They're pretty good as well. Reduces the amount of walking, reduces the amount of strain. Voice activated access. So this is a really good one as well. So for example, someone who has difficulties in terms of disability with their hands or their legs, they might be able to use their voice to activate a lot of things, like in today's world, light bulbs and doors and a lot of other gadgets can be activated just by voice activation. So there's a lot of modifications that we can make. Now, if you think about this one logically, right? If we make these modifications thinking this can benefit this particular group of people, right? People with disability, or the elderly, or even children, or whoever target segment we look at. Now, yes, it can benefit them, but it can also benefit everybody else. For example, languages, right? This world is filled with so many incredible languages. I can speak 3 languages relatively well. There's so many languages. Now, imagine if the modification we needed to make to our workforce was something which would allow us to communicate better, and our workforce is made up of 30 different nationalities. Is it possible for one person to learn 30 languages, or is it possible to even ask everyone to speak the same language? Now, the second one, asking everyone to speak the same language, that's pretty much what we do. But now think if they didn't have to. Think if you could express everything you want to express in your language, and you could translate it into somebody else's language. How cool would that be? And there are programs out there today that do exactly that. So for example, if you've got a Google device, you can ask it to translate or be your translator into whatever language you want. You can have 2 people or even multiple people having a conversation in their particular language. So let's say I'm speaking in English. Let's say somebody else is speaking in French. As I speak in English, it translates to French. As someone speaks in French, it translates it to English. How cool is that? So What do these things allow us to do? Well, any and every modification, what it should allow us to do is reduce the barrier, right? Reduce any and every barrier, which is the distance between us and where we want to be, so that we can work effectively and efficiently, so we can live effectively and efficiently, so that we can be independent. And I think that's pretty cool. There's also the emotional environment that we have to consider. An emotional environment is one that promotes emotional well-being and provides stability for, let's say, children as well as adults, according to their individual needs. From a work perspective, a good emotional environment will provide people, so like, let's say, our coworkers, it'll provide them with an emotional support, understanding their feelings, as well as showing empathy. And how do we create this emotional environment? Well, training, communication, having team-based activities, but not just team-based activities to solve a problem, but team-based activities to make the team stronger, to be better at communicating, to be better at understanding. And if you think about what kind of activities could we do? Well, you can look at official activities such as a training program to improve cohesiveness, or a training program to develop our emotional intelligence. But equally as effective, you can also look at unofficial programs such as, let's have a barbecue on a Friday where the entire company gathers. Everyone just discusses and talks, and they can talk about work or they can talk about life, whatever it might be, and just give people the opportunity to discuss and talk to each other. So this way, Monday morning, when Monday comes around, they'll be like, hey, I know you and you know me. Let's have that conversation. That project we were working on, I know we weren't emailing each other back because we're swamped with so much work, but I know you, so I feel more accountable to you and you to me. And all of a sudden, you create an environment from an emotional perspective, which is a lot more supportive as opposed to combative. Combative would be, okay, I saw your email, but I've got too much work to do. I'm sorry, can't do it. Or I'll reply to you later when I'm free. Or don't you know I have too much work to do? Like, why are you sending me emails? But you create an environment which is collaborative and you go, yes, I do have a lot of work to do, but I'm going to give you the information you need really quickly. Or, hey, sorry, right now really busy, but I'll definitely work on this and I'll give you an update tomorrow. So this way you create a more effective environment. So the emotional component is really important as the physical environment as well.